DNI Tulsi Gabbard has been making our dreams come true, delivering us the documents that we've been waiting for on Russiagate. But, not everybody is so happy. There's a little behind-the-scenes battle going on with the CIA. J. Michael Waller, he's a senior analyst for the Center for Security Policy. He joins us now to break down why the deep state is kind of in panic mode right now, Jay. So when we look at this, Mike, it's interesting, right? Because we actually have what is surmounting to be a real pushback and delivering documents that the deep state is like, we are okay with these not coming out. And now the American people have them. So take us a little bit behind the scenes here.
This is why it's so important to have outsiders who are not part of the establishment in these positions, because they don't care who they offend by bringing these documents out. This is a masterful piece of work that Tulsi Gabbard is doing. I wasn't sure she could do it at all. And to see this as just the beginning of something is just simply fantastic.
Yeah, so I go back and forth on this the last 6 months. And I'm just going to say it on air. We're just having a free-for-all today here with Steve. We're telling people what we think about things. And when it comes to this issue of, the insiders who would be in charge at these places, it can seem hopeless at times, right? Just absolutely hopeless. The fact that you even need someone who's so outside the box to come in and do something so basic, it could make someone, just saying, it could make someone a little depressed. But tell us why this is so significant and actually might lead to something good.
Washington, D.C. is a place, especially if you've been there for a long time or plan to be, where everybody knows when to stop offending the other side at some point. So you can win battles, but you can't really hurt the other guy because, you're going to be your career is going to be in this kind of conflict. So there's a lot of deal cutting and there's a lot of looking the other way. There's a lot of blackmail involved, too. So when you have somebody come in like Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard and others on that team who are actually doing what they said they were going to do, this is astonishing. And then to see the things that have come out of the FBI and that have recently been discovered in the FBI that somebody thought was disappeared forever. It shows that not only were laws broken at the time, but more laws were broken, some with 20-year sentences each time it was broken. And these are hundreds of times. You've got a lot of people looking at a lot of prison time if this is prosecuted right.
Hey, Mike, so good to see you again. It's been a while, and I'm sorry I missed you by at least a day in D.C. this week. But I do have a question for you about Tulsi and the victories that she is producing right now. Is that our sources at ODNI tell us that they're still having a lot of problems with two different agencies in particular. Not so much the CIA guys, although that is an issue with them, but the biggest problem they're having right now is cooperation from the Bureau, from the FBI. Do you have any particular feeling on why that might be manifesting itself in Tulsi's work right now?
Well, there are a number of things. First of all, ODNI itself, Tulsi Gabbard's office, is full of bad people. It's way oversized from what it should be. And the president can fire anyone in the intelligence service who he wishes for any reason, citing national security. So it isn't like a civil service legally protected status that these people have. He can fire them right away, and he can authorize Tulsi to do the same thing. So I don't know why that hasn't happened. There are also a lot of good people inside the system who've put their names forward for consideration, and they haven't even been acknowledged yet. So given all those handicaps, I'm doubly surprised to see Tulsi Gabbard coming out with the material she's come out with now. Now, for cooperation from the FBI, you have two things. First, the FBI is essentially like a cult. It's a fraternity, FBI fraternity, and you cannot go against the FBI as a bureau, regardless of who is director. That's one problem. The second problem is inside the FBI, it's still full of rotten people, from the management at the top floor all the way down to the field offices, and that they have not even begun to clean that out yet.
We did actually see a couple of firings today. As a matter of fact, the warlord, the J6 warlord, Steve Jensen, was finally fired. And of course, people may remember that a few months ago, when he was promoted from the special agent in charge at the Columbia field office to the assistant director in charge at the Washington field office, this set out a firestorm. It was the first big public relations a faux pas. That's really understating it. That the FBI made, that Kash Patel and his administration made when they elevated this guy who had been on the front line, the very guy that was in charge of prosecuting so many of these, accidental tourists and grandmothers that you and I saw go into the Capitol on January 6th. But they let him go today. What's confusing everybody now, though, is what was the process? Why elevate this guy to D.C. and literally give him a raise and a promotion, and then kick him out a couple of months later?
I don't know. You warned about it at the time, and the suspendable ex-FBI guys or suspended FBI guys warned about it. They called it out right away.
Right.
Those guys have they're batting 1,000 right now. They have been right on every single issue since the new administration's come in. So it's a real shock that they're still suspended from the FBI under Christopher Wray's corrupt rules.
Yeah, they are, and this is what is so incredible with the FBI and with the suspendables right now. You point out correctly that they're batting 1,000, but on this particular issue, they were more than, and when I say more than right, they not only described the problems with the elevation of this guy, but they also described the inevitability that he would be a problem for them. But more importantly, they also called out the influencers who were trying to justify and massage the narrative on both sides, because the influencers early on, when Jensen was promoted to the Washington field office, they didn't know what to do with this, because these were the J6 people that were so on the side of the J6 defendants and on the J6 narrative from the MAGA perspective, the GOP right perspective, and they were incensed that Jensen got promoted, and then they had to fall in line, and they started coming up with all these theories that maybe he was going to be the guy that would show and reveal where all the bodies were buried, or that he was going to be the kind of guy that Kash wanted to keep his enemy closer. Things that were just absolutely hilarious to me and hilarious to all the suspendables at the time.
Yeah, and I got the same pressure and certain reasoning about it, and I had some arguments with my suspendable friends because I was sort of taking a more relaxed view of this. Maybe there was a good reason to keep him on board, because when you're taking over an organization, when you're doing a hostile takeover, you do need insiders who are part of the problem to be your Sherpas, to guide you around inside. So I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm really sorry that I did, for keeping him on board. The suspendables were right about this.
Well, for some number, we like big round numbers, right? It's Donald Trump is 200 days in office. You were saying the FBI, they still have problems all the way through that Hoover building. What do you see right now, and the progress that has been made and all the steps that are still left to be taken? And we know those are numerous.
Well, we have to look at it three ways on the FBI. First, we need to hold accountable any government official and former official who was abusing power before, to undermine our Constitution before. So that has to be done. So you need an FBI or something like it to get that job done. You need teams that are in place to get that job done. So I understand not reforming the FBI, but tinkering with it, but focusing it on these issues. But that's no reason for avoiding other issues like keeping a lot of the rot inside. There's no reason for making the FBI even more powerful than it was. Remember, FBI absorbed ATF rather than the other way around, or rather than decentralizing power to, say, deal with firearms issues, they centralized it under FBI control. There's a bill now in Congress by Senator Cotton that inadvertently would make the FBI even more powerful still, in the name of reforming the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So you have these unintended consequences of what's being done, and no acknowledgement that the FBI is so obsolete and so bloated and still so full of abusive people that it cannot stay the way it has been.
I have a different question before we let you go here. While we have you, though, I think that we've seen now over the last few months something interesting and a little disturbing when it comes to national security, complex, and that is without a national security advisor, right? or a dedicated one. We certainly Rubio has many hats. He certainly is involved in wearing this one. There seems to be throughout the administration what I'd call a highly centralized, at the core, cadre of people around the president who are doing all kinds of amazing things, but it leaves it a little bit. Some of these positions not being filled by someone who's dedicated, right? It leaves a little bit of room so things sort of drift. And that's a worry, I think, for a lot of people who want to see the president's agenda implemented. That that this is a large apparatus, and there's a little bit of drift there, which I think is going to lead to problems with voters if they don't actually see the change that they want throughout these agencies.
Right, and it will happen in the by-elections next year. So it has to be fixed right now. Thing is, Marco Rubio is a terrific Secretary of State if he could only be Secretary of State and not be acting national security advisor. And it's not just to give advice to the president, it's to reorganize the whole machinery of the National Security Council while he's reorganizing and reducing the entire State Department and developing new ways of developing a foreign policy, kind of the way John Quincy Adams did under President Monroe 2 centuries ago. He's doing that, plus heading up 11 government agencies overall, right. State, NSC, and 9 other ones. He spread so thin that you have the careerists and a lot of holdovers and a lot of weak political appointed people who are either making decisions or not making decisions. So while they're not making decisions, the Chinese are. Putin is. The jihadists are. So you have this either paralysis inside the machine in some cases, or the continued Biden policies in other places, the way we just saw right. The U.S. literally handed over our hemispheric security organization to a communist Chinese proxy. So this is a real danger when you have really great people like Rubio who are spread so thin they can't focus on their main tasks.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Rubio's doing an incredible job. He has incredible people. But with that gap there in a lot of these roles, we gotta fill that in some way and shine a light on what's going on there.
J. Michael Waller, we always love picking your brain. I absolutely love it. And the book, Big Intel, I'm still working my way through it. It is fascinating to get through. If you like this segment, go pick up the book. It is great. And it will give you a ton of information that I had no clue that you had so many different adventures early on in your life. I can't wait to meet up with you back in D.C. Thanks so much for your time.
We'll see you. Thank you.